This is the podcast for small business owners and entrepreneurs who want to learn how simple ideas can lead to big wins for your business. I'm your host, Ryan DeLello, professional dancer from TV's So You Think You Can Dance, turned entrepreneur and business owner. I'm on a quest to discover the most creative ideas that have made all the difference for successful businesses. This is the Idea Wins podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have on Sasha Yablonovsky. She is a co-founder and co-CEO of Loanspark, a business lending marketplace that connects customers to the capital they need. She recently served as the president of CareerBuilder and is a seasoned executive known for her ability to build high-performance teams that champion the voice of the customer inside organizations and drive desired outcomes for a wide variety of clients. Sasha's accomplishments also include building a strategic plan and process to recover lost monies for the largest Ponzi scheme in history. That's very cool. We'll have to dive into that a little bit more, Sasha. Serving as the voice for working mothers and professional women as a public speaker and growing her career from project manager to CEO in just under a decade. Sasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Very excited to be here, Ryan. Thank you.
Well, I know you just have an incredible story. You come from humble beginnings, so just give us a little bit more background and tell us how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, great. So an immigrant from former USSR, just never had an opportunity to relax and be. In Russia, as most people know, not a very wealthy country. My parents were always hardworking. You have to do what you have to do to survive. And then when we moved here, 3 weeks before the coup, by the way, so wow. Timing was really interesting, but we made it here. And my parents refused to be on welfare because we came here to really take advantage of the opportunity that this country presents, not just to immigrants, to everybody that lives here. So worked really hard, and I watched them do that. And, just based on my upbringing and my immigration story, there was never a chance to not have a strong work ethic. You always strive to build a better life and to take an opportunity of everything that you're able to around you.
Wow. So 10 years, you went from becoming a project manager to a CEO. Tell us a little bit more about that.
My secret at work is to not say no to an opportunity, no matter how much it scares you. Say no if it's really out of your comfort zone and you think that the company or the opportunity is not kosher, so to speak. But just because you're afraid or just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean you shouldn't challenge yourself. No one was born a CEO. No one was born a president. No one was born a project manager either. It's through kind of your jobs, your interactions that you end up acquiring certain skills that can build up to that. I was lucky enough where I think I worked also with people that were able to see the skills I have and knew how to transfer them into bigger, better things. I'm also very lucky because I have a great support system and my spouse who always pushed me to do better and more, no matter how terrified I was, because I was leaping through the titles and organizations. But the secret sauce is don't say no. Just be afraid and go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You'll realize that it's not for you and you'll pivot and do something different.
I love that. I love that. The Idea Wins podcast, we're here talking about what simple things you can do that will have a big impact, right, on your business and on your career. And that is just priceless advice. Don't be afraid and don't say no. I think so many of us just count ourselves out, right, before we even give ourselves a chance. And
no, the self-doubt creeps in and you talk yourself out of whether, because who's your biggest critic? It's usually you inside your head. And one of my favorite quotes is, don't believe everything you hear inside your head.
Right. I love that. And you also have a good spouse. That's also important. Have a good sidekick.
It's very important to have a good support system. Yes.
I do too. I have a great one. Well, let's dive into Loanspark. Tell us about Loanspark, how you got there, what you do. I know I was diving into your website just a little bit. So the people you serve are B2B service companies, financial brokers, banks and credit unions, marketing visionaries, and accounting firms. So tell us exactly what Loanspark is and how you serve those audiences.
Yeah, that's great. So I love the idea behind Loanspark. The founder of the company, Michael, he's been in commercial and consumer lending for over 20 years, and he saw how the system is kind of rigged against the borrower. All the
Hmm.
business owners that are supposed to be looking for funding, it's hard. The
Hmm.
processes are overcomplicated, they're super confusing, and he really wanted to make sure that we are able to help the borrowers, the business customers, make it easy for them. 82% of businesses go out of business within the first 2 years because of funding challenges. So it's just a really messy process. But on
Hmm.
top of figuring out how to help them, we also wanted to create an ecosystem of businesses helping businesses. So the banks and the alternative lenders shouldn't be the only ones that are able to provide funding to businesses.
Right.
Why not have other B2B service providers enable them to be that lending source to the business customers they serve for a lot
Hmm.
of different reasons? I think it just builds stronger communities. You're able to help your business customers. You drive greater value for them. And also you create an additional revenue stream for you as a B2B provider.
Yeah.
So it's just, it really creates this powerful network and system of all of us building a community for the better.
I love that. That's huge. I mean, um, so many companies need access to capital, whether it's a business, right, or individuals, and
Yeah.
the process is so difficult. Right? You're taking a something that people really need, like really depend on, right? It's a make or break thing for many people, depending on where they are, and it's such a difficult process. It's a long process. And you're simplifying that, you're making it easier.
Yep.
Well done.
Thank you. We're very
Well
excited.
done.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's dive into a few other questions. So, what would you say is your best small idea for big business wins? We kind of talked about one, maybe more on a personal level. What do you think for small businesses? What is something that they can do that will lead to a big win for their business?
So I really believe in personal touches. Every day you hear about, AI taking over or,
Hmm.
the tools that we have that automate. I think automation is great, but you can never replace the kind of the personal connections that we build. Call me
Right.
old school. I just think it's really important. But one of the things that have always been impactful for me and in turn that I have made an impact in is remembering the birthdays, the anniversaries, the special details. I know it sounds really cheesy, but for all of our customers that I've worked with, like I would always keep a spreadsheet literally that would say, okay, in conversations, like I would write down their children's names, their birthdays, their anniversaries, things that come up in day-to-day conversation with your customer, with your coworker, with your boss. And I would write them down just to remember. And then what happens is when there is a birthday, and when there is an anniversary or, something about your next conversation, you can ask about their daughter, their son, their dog. I have a dog. I love my dog. I would love it if people asked me more about her. But my point is, it really goes a long way. And it's really simple, but it has helped me over my career build much more powerful relationships because that means I'm listening, I'm paying attention, I'm making the other person that I'm working with feel like they matter. And it really goes towards building those stronger relationships. It really goes a long way. And it's so
Yeah.
simple. Like we
Guys,
do this with our best friends and families. Like you got to do it with everybody around you.
yeah.
Okay.
You guys, I just have to say, she is not just saying this, okay? So we were going to have the podcast and she rescheduled for another day and I had forgot to block that day off because it was my birthday. And she's like, oh my gosh, okay, no worries, take the day, spend it with your wife. But on my birthday, she sent me an email wishing me happy birthday. So she really does like practice what she preaches. So thank you again, by the way, for the birthday
Happy
wishes.
belated birthday.
And it
Again.
really did. It made me feel like, wow, she's really cool. Like she really is genuine. And like if businesses can do that more, like that's so important on a personal level. But if businesses can apply that to how they work with their customers, man, you're going to have raving fans. Like you're not going to just have someone who just bought something from you and they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll go buy it from someone else. But that personal touch, it goes so far. So I think getting creative and with your business and figuring out ways to do that with your customers is huge.
It is, I agree.
Yeah. Great one. Excellent. I love that. I love that. Okay, let's go to the next question. So Business is all about overcoming obstacles and creating opportunities for growth. What do you see as the real challenge right now for companies?
Figuring out, I think, how to get through this year next. There's a lot of gloom and doom in the news about the economy, and I think the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing is figuring out how to make it through with the resources you have. And I
Mm-hmm.
think whether you're a large organization or a small organization, that is definitely top of mind. We've heard a lot about the layoffs out there in the industry. It's really unfortunate that it's happening. So for the business owners and the leaders of the organization today, I think the biggest thing is, how do we preserve the company and the teams we have, and how do we make it through whatever we think is happening this year into next year? And some of the ways to do that is it's really basic and boring, but it's cash flow. It's making sure you have it. No
Mm-hmm.
different than in our personal lives. That's kind of how
Yeah.
we assess and make sure we get through any time period. But those are kind of the things that I see happening and that I think is really top of mind.
So yeah, there is a company that I actually used to do fitness modeling for. I'm not going to name who they are, but I know that they just were thriving during COVID because they make fitness products and everybody had to work out at home, right? Well, they didn't save the capital. They reinvested all of it. They kind of spent all of that. And now when the economy is now turning, they're really, 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 really struggling. And they've had to lay off a lot of people. So I think that's so important, is planning for the future, making sure you save the capital that you need for the times that are coming. And it's hard to do that when things are going well, right? You're like,
It
oh
is.
yeah, let's just like use all of this to grow the company.
Correct.
So
But there's a balance. My
Mhm.
best example, and no one's been able to replicate this, Apple is the wealthiest wealthy company in the entire world in the history of businesses. They've
Wow.
been able to amass so much cash as an organization while still strategically reinvesting into itself. So like that
Right.
model, not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect model. There's no real
Mhm.
secret sauce, but they have really made an effort, more so I think than most other companies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we're always trying to reinvent the wheel, but we need to look at the companies that have been around, they're still around, and what they're doing, right? And follow a lot of just the basic things that they're doing to make sure that they are staying relevant and they're staying healthy, right?
Agreed.
Okay. So now I'm just going to turn just a little lighter note. I like to ask this question occasionally on the podcast. If you had any business superpower, what would it be?
Knowing the future, predicting it. Duh. I mean, it would be
Amen to
great
that.
to know what's coming in business.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that one. Over the last 10 years, I actually thought about this a lot. It's like if you could wish for anything, when you struggle at work, you're like, oh man, I wish I was like really good at this thing and it wasn't as difficult for me. Or even in your personal life, oh, I wish I could, I don't know, be the best dancer in the world. Sometimes I go clubbing and I look at these dancers and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. Yes, I still go clubbing. Don't laugh.
I love it. Does your husband go with you?
He used to be a DJ in New York, so
So
we're
cool.
big electronica heads. Anyways,
Hey, we need to talk more dance after the podcast.
we will. So, but it's really knowing up ahead. I think
Yeah.
now that with Loanspark, I became a business owner for the first time in my life. And even as a senior leader in the previous companies I was at, one of the things is you make your best educated decision based on the trends, based on the analysts that are out there telling you things, based on talking to your mentors and other business owners and leaders and CEOs, but
Mhm.
no one really knows. It would be amazing and boring, I suppose, but amazing to know what's ahead. Kind of like, okay, what do the next 2 years bring so I can seamlessly prepare my employees, my company, and those around me for that. That'd be a cool superpower.
Love it. I agree. I'd love to have that one. I mean, it'd be kind of like Back to the Future, right? Where Biff has the almanac.
That's right. That's right.
But you know what? We can be looking to the future and planning to the future by looking at trends and looking at the past, kind of like the example I just referenced with the fitness company.
Sure.
So, love that answer. Let's move on to, what does success in 2023 mean to you? Now, this can be personal or business level. share your vision for us for 2023.
Okay, well, for Loanspark to continue to grow, this is now my new baby. I'm really passionate about what we're doing. So continue to engage more and more businesses and helping other businesses grow. That's a really big focus. On the personal note, honestly, I would like to spend more time focusing on balance is the wrong word. Allocating enough time for me and my family and downtime. It's hard and it's a constant struggle. I kind of make fun of people that are like, I have a perfect balance in life. It doesn't exist. I don't think it's an accurate statement. I think you're fibbing if anybody says that. But I think like for any leader or any person that's working and has family or any person that's working and is just like trying to go day to day, it's always the balance, right? It's how much work is too much work? How much time should I spend with my friends and reconnect with my family and do things just for me, just like me alone time? So I think just keeping mind on that all the time is really important. So for me, this year, the goal is to continue to get better at spending more time on me and those around me and just disconnecting from all the other kind of things.
I love that. And that is a challenge while building Loanspark. Like, I'm in a startup as well with Idea Wins, and I already have other businesses that I run. Yeah. But that's definitely on my docket as well. That is one of my goals this year. And I think the biggest thing is planning, right? Yeah. You've got to plan the activities with your spouse, with your children. Because if you don't, you'll fill it with work.
I agree. Right? But also when you're a business owner, you love what you do, we hope, right? Yeah. Like that's what you're doing it. So it doesn't even feel like work. So it's hard to get wrapped into it. And then you're right. Like it's so important to just block off chunks of time to be like not work related. Yeah. Not work related.
100%. Well, I love it. I love your story, Sasha. I love what you're doing with Loanspark. You have a very inspirational story, really the American dream. You're the epitome of the American dream. Thank you for working so hard and then turning around and making an impact in this country and in the world. We need more people like you, and it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Before we go, where can we send people to find you?
www.loanspark.com, and I'm easily available on LinkedIn. Happy to connect. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll put those links in the show notes. Thanks again for being on today, and thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're looking for tools or resources to grow, optimize, and save money for your business, or if you have questions about today's podcast or a previous episode, go to ideawins.com. We believe every idea counts, and a small, simple idea might be the only thing holding you back from a big win for your business. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. And as always, thanks for sharing Idea Wins with your friends. I'll see you next time.